Welcome back to this edition of the church and its theology, its ecclesiology. We're picking up on a new series of short videos called Best Practices. And the first one's effective communication. Effective communication is the primary goal of the Pentecostal church. Bringing a charismatic word has been a part of an essential aspect of growing the people of God. If it is the case that the church's mission is to prepare and proclaim a theological event based on the word, which is the method of preaching in most ecclesiologies, then this event must be more of a daily movement rather than a formalized practice on a holy day. That is, of course, to say that preaching is not merely something that happens among believers. This idea seems to be a fallacy of the modern church. Rather, preaching happens when a believer is proclaiming the gospel as public truth, and this quote comes from Lesslie Newbigin, to unbelievers in the marketplace. This idea is also articulated by C.H. Dodd, who when he came to the end of a large study that he did on the difference between preaching and teaching in the New Testament, after an exhaustive study, he concluded that every reference to preaching and teaching, he looked and said that preaching was the theological proclamation to unbelievers, and that teaching was to the people of God. And thus it's my opinion that the charismatic proclamation is an essential ministry for the church to attain its true ecclesiology. For the church to truly be the church, it's got to have solid teaching and preaching. That if it doesn't have that, it's not the church. That fellowship is an event which validates the truth of preaching. It really has big implications for the church on the way. The affirmation of a gathering around truth is important because it re-emphasizes the fact that truth is embodied. It's not something simply arrived in sort of rational A equals B, B equals C, therefore A must equal C, that rational thinking. But that this type of philosophical logicalism does little, if anything, to help the seeker of truth ascertain the truth itself. The truth is embodied. It's embodied in the person of Jesus himself. And again, it's a theological mystery, but really the categorical imperative for Christians is to locate the truth in Jesus. This allows us to bypass some of the issues that arise in postmodern mindset. Now, if we want to know the truth itself about when we lose our friends, we look at Jesus, who when he loses his friend Lazarus doesn't drop an answer to theodicy about why bad things happen to good people. He simply weeps. There is in the expression of his humanity what I need to know when my brain cannot find answers to explain my reality. We're going to pick up our next segment on the best practices.